In the annals of criminal history, a shadowy figure emerges from the depths of Philadelphia's past, shrouded in mystery and terror. Known by the chilling moniker, the Torso Killer, this enigmatic and ruthless serial murderer cast a long and horrifying shadow over the city during the bleak years of the 1930s. The very mention of the Torso Killer's name conjures a sense of unease, evoking a time when the streets of Philadelphia were plagued by a wave of gruesome and unsolved dismemberment murders that sent shockwaves through the community and confounded law enforcement. The Torso Killer's reign of terror unfolded within a time of economic hardship, social upheaval, and a city struggling to recover from the depths of the Great Depression. As the nation grappled with its own challenges, the streets of Philadelphia became a macabre stage for a series of heinous crimes that transcended the boundaries of comprehension. The killer's modus operandi was as calculated as it was brutal, dissecting bodies with precision, leaving a horrifying trail of discarded limbs and torsos wrapped in crude coverings. The sheer audacity of the crimes, combined with their apparent lack of motive, left investigators perplexed and citizens gripped by fear. In the following exploration, we delve into the chilling saga of the Torso Killer, unearthing the details of a spree that not only shattered lives but also sowed terror on a scale rarely witnessed. From the dimly lit alleyways of the Frankfurt neighborhood to the heart of the investigative efforts that sought to unmask the identity behind the moniker, we uncover the darkest corners of this unsolved case that has left a lasting mark on Philadelphia's history. As we traverse the pages of this unsettling tale, we'll delve into the investigations that gripped the city, the suspects that emerged from the shadows, and the theories that sought to unravel the mystery behind the Torso Killer's motives. We'll also examine the broader societal context in which these gruesome events transpired, shedding light on the atmosphere of fear and trepidation that permeated Philadelphia during this era. The Torso Killer's legacy endures not only through the chilling records of the crimes themselves but also in the questions that continue to haunt those who dare to delve into the depths of this macabre narrative. What drove the Torso Killer to commit such atrocious acts? How did this elusive figure manage to evade justice, slipping through the fingers of law enforcement time and again? And perhaps most hauntingly, could the answer to the Torso Killer's identity and motives still lie buried within the labyrinthine corridors of history? Join us as we navigate the murky waters of the Torso Killer's legacy, exploring a tale that transcends time and offers a glimpse into the darkest recesses of the human psyche. The Torso Killer's story is not merely a historical footnote. It is a haunting reminder that some mysteries defy resolution, leaving us to grapple with the chilling realization that even the most tenacious of investigators may find themselves ensnared in the enigma of the unknown. The Torso Killer, also known as the Frankfurt Slasher, is one of the most notorious unsolved serial murder cases in Philadelphia's history. During the 1930s, a series of gruesome dismemberment murders shocked the city, leaving law enforcement and the public horrified and baffled. The case remains unresolved to this day, leaving behind a chilling legacy of mystery and terror. The reign of terror attributed to the Torso Killer began around 1934 and continued until 1938. The killer's modus operandi was consistent throughout the murders. The victims' bodies would be brutally dismembered, often with their heads and limbs severed. The dismembered body parts would then be wrapped in newspaper or burlap sacks and discarded in various locations, primarily around the Frankfurt neighborhood of Philadelphia. The torso of the victim was often missing, leading to the moniker, Torso Killer. This series of murders was marked by its brutality and the apparent lack of motive, making it incredibly difficult for law enforcement to establish patterns or connections that could lead to the identification and apprehension of the killer. The dismembered bodies made identification of the victims particularly challenging, and the absence of identifying information hindered investigators' efforts to establish any clear leads. The police, frustrated by the lack of progress in the case, employed various investigative techniques to track down the torso killer. They conducted extensive interviews with potential witnesses, analyzed handwriting on the newspapers and burlap sacks used to wrap the body parts, and even resorted to offering rewards for information leading to the killer's capture. Despite these efforts, the torso killer managed to evade capture and continued to strike fear into the hearts of Philadelphia's residents. Several suspects were questioned and investigated over the years, but no definitive evidence linking anyone to the murders was ever found. The lack of forensic technology and the disjointed nature of the investigations further complicated the case. As time passed and the number of victims grew, the city's panic escalated, and the mystery surrounding the torso killer deepened. One of the more widely discussed suspects was a man named Jack the Barber, who was known to have a criminal history and had connections to some of the victims. However, there was never enough evidence to definitively tie him to the murders. Another theory suggested that the torso killer might have been a rogue physician or someone with knowledge of anatomy, given the skillful dismemberment of the victims' bodies. As the years went by and the number of unsolved cases attributed to the torso killer increased, the frequency of the murders began to decline. By the late 1930s, the series of killings seemed to have stopped, leaving Philadelphia with a lingering sense of dread and unease. The case eventually faded from the headlines, but the memories of those gruesome murders and the unsolved mystery continue to captivate and haunt those interested in true crime history. The torso killer case remains one of the most perplexing and chilling unsolved mysteries in American criminal history. The lack of definitive answers, the brutality of the crimes, and the sheer audacity of the killer to evade capture have contributed to the enduring fascination with the case. Despite the passage of time, the torso killer's identity and motives remain enshrouded in darkness, leaving us to wonder about the horrors that transpired in the streets of Philadelphia during those tumultuous years.